Okay, now on to the next question. Okay, handmade soaps can be harmful to skin. Yes, no.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna go with a myth.
I like handmade.
Are you just okay? Are you just saying that because you
Yes,
like
I love
handmade
handmade
soaps?
soaps. So I'm gonna say myth.
I'm gonna say fact. Because I don't like handmade soap, so I'm convinced it's gonna ruin your skin.
Okay, so I'm going to say this knowing that Dashu is a fan of handmade soaps. You know, I get it. I get it. I understand why people like handmade soaps. You know, they're so much better than commercial soaps. You know, you're usually supporting a small batch manufacturer. You know, they add all these fancy ingredients. Some of them even look good for skin. But the point is this, that soap by its very nature is an alkaline substance. The pH is at least 8 or above. Usually a good handmade soap has a pH of about 9. Now do remember that the pH of human skin on the other hand is 5.5, which is actually mildly acidic. So when you use a handmade soap very, very often on skin, two things happen. One is that you're altering the pH of the skin, although temporarily. The second is this, that in this alkaline environment, the carefully cultivated microbiome that we host on our skin, which is a very large colony of microorganisms of different species of bacteria, fungi and other microorganisms, can't survive in this alkaline environment. Why is the microbiome so important? It actually acts as our first line of defense. It helps secrete, it actually works along with our skin to help secrete sebum. So it maintains the health of not just our skin but our entire body. So every time we use an alkaline substance on the skin, we are sort of messing with this microbiome and reducing our acquired immunity, which has actually taken us a long time to build, right? So unfortunately, in this case, the answer is yes, it is true. They are not really good for skin, but I understand. I understand that the fans are going to be bugged, and I do like handmade soaps myself. Just not great for skin.
Wait, so I have a question.
Right.
So it's not like great for the whole body, or it's just not great for face?
It's not great for skin in general. So whether it's the face or whether it's the body, because every part of the skin on our body can do its best only in the pH of 5.5. So any mild alteration also messes against it. And do remember, our microbiome exists everywhere. It's not just on the body, it's on the face, it's near the eyebrows, it's everywhere, right? So we have our colony everywhere. So the colony is one part of the answer, and the second part of the answer is this, that the skin health depends on the maintenance of the pH. So every time we tamper with it, the skin health, sort of goes up and down. So that's the thing.
No, that's unfortunate.
Right. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. Turmeric can remove body hair. Myth, fact? Fact. Sanju says myth. Yes.
I think it's a myth, man. I mean, I've tried it. It's not that
Trust me, Sanju.
helpful.
Turmeric is
It's
for
barely
everything.
takes
It's
out
the
a
best thing
little
ever. It's max overpowered
I wanna say
herb ever.
It's
We have a strong supporter of turmeric who says it works on everything. And here we have a disgusted user who says, I tried it, it doesn't work, I'm going to tell the world. So where's the answer? It lies somewhere in between, guys. So turmeric, interestingly, is, its properties. While a lot of us are, in popular culture, a lot of us use turmeric to actually thin hair and to remove hair. In Ayurveda, that's not really the big reason why it's used. It's actually recommended in Ayurveda to be used, for its Kanti Vardhaka properties, which is glow enhancing, because it's Mangalyam. It is very auspicious as a herb. It carries prana, positive pranic energy. and it improves skin health, right? But here's the interesting thing about turmeric: it is actually a rukshahara herb. Rukshahara meaning dry herb, right? So if you just rewind to when we use turmeric in cooking, a lot of times when we cook sticky mucilaginous vegetables like okra, like there's this vegetable in Tamil which we call sepankaranga, right? It's very sticky, taro root. So one of the things that we do is we immediately add turmeric when the vegetable starts oozing mucilage to dry out the herb, right? So that's one of the big properties of turmeric. Similarly, if you rewind, when people have a cough or a cold, they're immediately advised to drink milk with turmeric, right? So the milk is not going to reduce the cough or the cold, but the turmeric added to the milk helps dry out the phlegm internally, right? So it is kapha reducing. Now for hair growth, we actually need good kapha, good nourishment. So what turmeric does is it thins this down, right? It reduces the supply of rich nourishment to the hair and it thins down the hair. But it is not a depilatory agent, so we can't apply it and expect a post-waxing effect, right? What it does is over time it gradually cuts the supply of nourishment to the hair. It tightens and dries up that area so that the hair starts growing thin, right? So, but the hair necessarily has to be not very thick. Like for example, if you apply turmeric on a man's beard, right, it's not going to do anything. Right? If you keep on applying it, it's not going to stop or reduce the need for shaving, right? Because the testosterone levels in men's bodies leads to a certain kind of hair growth which is very thick, right? So it doesn't work on those situations. Second, it also works over time. It's very gradual, right? So if you start using it when you're a child or you're a baby, the likelihood that it will over time reduce the body hair is reasonable, right? So turmeric is all about long-term usage and gradual reducing, but don't expect like a 100% depilatory effect, right? So can it remove body hair? No, right? What it can do is thin it down, lighten it, and make the body hair a little weak. Okay, so we have a lot more questions on ingredients, right? So here's my favorite, and that has no bearing on whether it's a myth or fact, it's just my favorite. Curd can help my skin and I can apply it on my skin. Myth or fact? Myth? Sanju? Myth? But I want to know the reason behind that major smirk that both of you had.
I haven't tried it on my face. I haven't put curd on my face, but I put it on my hair once. And it wasn't the best effect ever. So
It was good?
No, not really.
No.
It just made my hair frizzy.
See, here's the thing, right? We see a lot of information on the net and in beauty blogs and in magazines, right? And, it is conflicting because some of them don't seem right, but then it's written about in such a convincing manner that you'd say, okay, what's the harm, right? So it's very important to go to a very authoritative text where people have actually analyzed this ingredient, right? And it's like what I say, it's not an ingredient, it actually comes with its own sets of properties, right? So if you look at curd in Ayurveda, it is described as something that we must not eat all the time, right? So Ayurveda, I remember we had this conversation where actually the only season you can eat curd is now in Hemanta Ritu, because the cold helps the body absorb it. This is because curd is considered something which is abhishyandi in Ayurveda. Abhishyandi means something which blocks the channels, right? It is also considered pichila or slimy or sticky, right? So the effect when you eat it internally is that it blocks and coats the fine channels, right? And internally, do remember, we have heat, we have agni, and we have acids to help process the curd. Even then, it is considered abhishyandi. Now, you don't have acids and anything or heat on the face, right? So imagine the effect of putting something which is abhishyandi on the skin or on the scalp. Now, it contains fat, right? It contains a lot of fat, which is probably why people feel that it smoothens the hair or smoothens the skin. But the issue is this, that the scalp and the skin contain these fine shrotas or these micro pores, which are, the pores are on the outside, they're basically attached to a tubular structure inside, right? So curd has a disadvantage of actually clogging you, right? So over time, you keep on using curd on the skin or on the hair, you will find that you might develop acne, whiteheads, or even the similar conditions on the scalp. But you can also develop fungal dandruff because curd is a great medium to, for microorganisms, right? Because it's sticky, thick, and it may not even rinse off properly. So in general, no, not a good idea. So yes, curd should not be used on skin or on scalp. Okay, so we discussed curd. So here we have a cousin of curd. Is milk a good ingredient for skin or facial care? Myth, fact? Fact. Fact. Okay, I know that you guys know the answer because I actually told you guys to use milk in your lepa.
Exactly. I had to use milk in my lepa. I use milk in my body wash, so I know it's true.
So yes, so you already knew the answer. So here's the thing about milk. Again, not everyone can use it. So for people who are acne prone, for example, milk is not recommended because it is very sweet, it is very nourishing, it has a lot of fat content, it is guru. But milk is excellent for people with Vata Prakriti. So for Dashu, I had suggested that she added. She has a tendency of skin dryness, so I suggested that she added to both her face mask and her body wash. Milk does have skin brightening properties. Like I said, not 5 shades fairer, but just it has a skin evening property. It does remove a little bit of discoloration. It is very sweet and very nourishing, for skin. So, but again, not everyone can use it. It really depends upon your skin type. But it's not an absolute no like curd is. It can be used. It is good. It is a good ingredient for skin, right? So, yay, we both got that. Both of you got that right. Okay, so here's the next one. Honey. Is it good for skin? Good for facial care? Yes, no, myth, fact. Fact. Oh, we have a divided house.
I
Sanju
would
says
say,
fact.
I
Yoshi
don't
says
know
myth.
why, because I've seen honey everywhere and I'm convinced honey is helpful.
I say milk
like
because it's very thick, and I don't know, putting something that gelatinous and thick is just like, I'd rather eat it than put it on my face. So yeah.
So Sanju says yes because she's seen it everywhere and a lot of people are using it. Dashu says it looks too thick to apply on my skin. I'd rather eat it. Okay, so we're somewhere in between on this. So the thing is that in Ayurveda, honey is used, but in very specific cases. For example, if we have someone with a 2nd degree burn on the skin, where the Sanju's nightmare happened, the epidermis has been, is disappeared, right? So 1 or 2 layers of the skin is not there because of either an acid burn or fire burn. Then honey is actually used to protect the skin because the epidermis, the layer of the skin actually acts as a protection to the inner layers. So when that is not there, honey is actually used to seal off the skin so that nothing enters it from outside, right? So it is used in that very specific case, and it is really excellent, for acid burns, for fire burns, etc. Apart from that, honey does not find a mention in Ayurveda for general skincare because of its many properties. For one, many people don't know this, honey is considered an ushna or a hot ingredient, right? So it actually generates heat. And this is the reason why, again, like our old remedy of milk and turmeric for a cold, when people get a cold, they're asked to have honey with pepper because honey has a hot feeling in the body. And interestingly, although honey is sticky and gelatinous, Ayurveda says it is Ushna Guna, it is Rukshadara or drying, a lot like turmeric, right? So honey is actually recommended for people who are obese, who want to lose weight, who have issues like diabetes, etc., with specific formulation. So, for example, if you're given a medicine and you're trying to lose weight, or your doctor feels that that you have too much of kapha on the body, they will ask you to mix that Ayurvedic medicine in honey. Honey is the anupana, so it tastes sweet, but it is actually drying and it is actually heat generating, and it actually cuts down fat, right? So you can see the problem if you're going to start applying it on your skin or on your hair. You have an ingredient which is going to thin something down and which is going to increase heat, right? So it's not, I'm not really seeing too many places or too many skin types where you can actually use it. So the answer here is yes, it is good for certain medicinal applications, but no, it is not good for general skincare. So if you're going to be mixing honey in a mask and slathering it in your skin, not a good idea. Come to the very last question today, right? I know both of you are going to get it. So I'm thinking, why even ask this? Okay, but okay, using an oil on my face can make my face oily. Myth, fact? Dashu's like, why even bother? I already know this is a fact, right? Why even put up this placard? Okay, so
here is where I'd like to differentiate the difference between what I already know is an oil and an Ayurvedic tela. Since I know the difference, I'm going to say it's both. You don't just randomly throw an oil on your face. It is not good
that's
for your
why
skin.
I thought for a second. I was like, oh, is she talking about like the serum that we make in the factory, or is it like general oil?
okay, I'll admit that my question actually says using a thyla on my face, and I admit that I changed that to oil. So to confuse the two of you, and get a
conspiracy.
My aggressive fact and myth answer is right.
Okay, so there's a difference between a regular oil and an Ayurvedic oil. There's a difference between an Ayurvedic oil which is processed with herbs, in the Tilapaka BD. So if you're going to apply a plain vegetable oil on your skin, yes, it is likely to make your face oily. Simply because it has not been processed to be absorbed quickly by the facial skin. And let's remember, facial skin is actually thinner than the rest of the body skin because it's been weathered by the air and by the elements. It's always exposed to the sun, etc. So we need something a little more nuanced and a little more subtle for facial skin. Oils are great, for skin. But but the facial skin tends to need very nuanced nourishment, so a regular cold pressed oil won't work. So if you use a properly formulated Ayurvedic oil, which is made in the Tilapaka Vidhi, and like how it happens in Kriya, what happens is that process actually transforms the oil. It makes it less thick. It makes it easier to absorb. It also breaks down or nanoizes the oil, so the particles become very small, so they slip into the skin much faster. So yeah. So Sanju with her 12 saying myth can be fact, is true. Yeah, it all depends on the oil process. So here we conclude our skin game, and Darshu's crowing over the last point just made her lose this point. So I think if anyone's keeping score, we are 5 odd, so everyone is a winner here. Or no one exactly won. We don't have one accurate winner.
Yeah. Could see it both ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did a very smart thing by calling it a myth and a fact. Look what I did there.
Okay, so guys, how do we end this? How do we end the video?
Okay, so listen, hold up guys. Okay, if you like, follow, subscribe everywhere, wherever we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube. If you like, follow, subscribe, it's a fact that you'll get nicer videos and more entertaining videos. Okay?
Okay. Bye guys.
Yes, it's also a fact that this video is ending.
And if you like more myth and fact videos, do let us know down in the comments. Bye.
Was it your take? Yes, awesome.
Ciao, matane.
Oh,
Okay, bye guys. This was fun.